So I'm going to talk about the instantaneous center between two bodies. So instantaneous center I define is a point where two bodies have the same absolute velocity. So here I have taken a bar rotating about this hinge. Now you see this is a hinge joint and this bar is connected to the hinge pin here. So this point is on the frame also. This body which is fixed body is called a frame. So this fixed body has zero velocity. That is the meaning of a fixed body or a stationary object. So this point, every point on the frame has zero velocity. And this point which lies on the frame, this hinge, also has zero velocity. So when we talk of this body 2, this bar 2, and this body 1, so instantaneous center between these two bodies has to be a point having zero velocity because it is having we have to find instantaneous center between the frame and this body. So this instantaneous center has to have a zero absolute velocity. So here you see this point O2 has zero absolute velocity when it is on frame as well as when it is on this bar. As you know that you have maximum velocity as you move away from the axis of rotation and you have zero velocity right at the axis of rotation. Axis does not move. That is the definition of an axis. When you rotate something about the axis, the point on the axis doesn't move. So we call it fixed instantaneous center when out of two bodies, one body is a frame or a fixed body. And it has a zero absolute velocity. Now suppose I have a translating object. This is a translating object. So how will I find its instantaneous center? You see, every point on this object has same velocity. That is the meaning of pure translation. So it is undergoing pure translation. Every point has the same velocity. Then how do you find the zero velocity? Then you say that you take it perpendicular to this axis, to this surface. Now you will say your axis of rotation lies somewhere at infinity from this surface. So it is lying at infinity. Anywhere on this line, you will have your axis of rotation, and it will be lying at infinity. Line can be anywhere. So it is at infinity. So what happens? Infinity makes a circle of infinite radius. Your instantaneous center is far away. So you are drawing a circle of infinite radius. So it is basically like a straight line. If you take a part of it, it will look like a straight line. So this is what is happening. So you will say that your velocity is rectilinear, but your radius is infinite. So your axis of rotation is at an infinite distance. But this axis has to be perpendicular to your translational velocity. If your translational velocity is like this, on this surface you are translating, so you have to draw a perpendicular to this surface. So your instantaneous center is lying somewhere on this far off at a distance, infinite distance. Is it all right? So whenever we take a case of pure translation, so we are basically what we are doing, we say we are defining a rigid body map where every point on this in this universe, we say it is having velocity corresponding to the velocity of this rigid body, which is transmitted. So if we have got velocity, some velocity 5 meter per second, and suppose we have defined our coordinate system right from here at this current position of this velocity. So after 1 second, what will happen? This body will travel a distance of 5 meters. It will come 5 meters away. That is the starting point of this body, it comes to here. And if we say there is another entire space is having the same velocity, then this is some point at time t is equal to 0. Now this point will also travel in 1 second 5 meters. So we can talk of some virtual motion of this kind. We can give this motion to the entire space. Okay. Now this was pure translation. Similarly, we can have pure rotation. So just like I did, this was pure rotation. So we take any, suppose the bar starts from this position. Now pure rotation means this is going to make a circular motion. So this point A is making a circle about this point O2. So in 1 second, what will happen? If your angular velocity is 1 radian per second, in 1 second it will travel a distance equal to 1 radian. Now you can take any point in space. Since you started your motion from this position, now this point also it will go a circular motion, and in 1 second again it will cover 1 radian. So you can give this motion of rotation to the entire space. So this is a concept where you can say virtually you can say everything is moving and the entire space is rotating about an axis O2. So point which is farther will have maximum velocity, and the amount of rotation of any, and you can also get the position of the point. Initial position is A, suppose B, you get the final position B prime after 1 second. So you can find position with time. Now how does it help you? Now suppose I have something like this. So you say I have got some motion like this. Now this 2, 3, 4. Now if I say I want to find instantaneous center between body 2 and 4, how will I find? Now these two bodies, they are not connected to each other. For example, instantaneous center between body 2 and 3 is this point. It has same velocity at these points. Here it is I12 between body 1 and 2. This is called I14, instantaneous center between body 1 and 2. But now I want to find instantaneous center between body 2 and 4. Now you see, I am going to give entire space motion corresponding to motion of bar. So any point in space will have certain velocity. Suppose this is a point. So what is done is actually there is a method of doing it. So we will show you how. So we just write 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we know I, so we draw a solid line. Then we also know I14, we draw a solid line. We also know I23, we draw a solid line. Then we also know I34, we draw a solid line. Then we don't know I13. We do not know about which point about this body 3 is rotating. What is its fixed axis of rotation? That is not known. So whatever is not known, we say it is like this. Now we say it's 1434. 1434. Then we just say that this I13 will lie somewhere on this line. I'll explain you how this is. There is a theorem called Kennedy-Arnold theorem. What does that theorem say? Instantaneous center between three bodies lie on a straight line. That's a theorem. I will prove it. Now you see between body 1, 1 and 4, 3 and 4, and 1 and 3. 1 4 is here, 3 4 is here. So I13 will lie somewhere on this line. Then another thing is I12, I23. 1 2 2 3. So this and I13, they will also lie on the same line. So you see this line is intersecting somewhere here. So this is your I13. So this body I23 is going to rotate about body about point I13. So you see this point is a point in space. This does not lie either on body, does not lie on body 3. But you can say body 3 is extended in the entire space. Or entire space is having the same motion corresponding to rigid body motion of body 3. And what is the rigid body motion of body 3? About this point I13, which is a stationary point, zero velocity point, the entire space is rotating with certain angular velocity, which is of this body 3. Okay. So we will also see what is this angular velocity. We can calculate it. Now we want to find instantaneous center between body 2 and 4. Now you will see how we find it. So now this is, we already know, we will make it solid. So this is done. Now we want to find this. Again we will use this Kennedy-Arnold theorem. I12, I14. I12, I14. So I24 will lie on this line joining these 2 points. Now I23, I34. I23, I34. So you see this point becomes your I24. So this I24 lies on line joining I23 and I34. So using this Kennedy's theorem, we have found instantaneous center between body 2 and body 4. And what is this? This is this one. So you see this body. Now, whatever is the motion of this body 2, using that motion, we have found that this point lies on this body. And it has some velocity when it is on body 2. And it has got some velocity when it is on body 4. But it will have the same velocity. That is the definition of instantaneous center. I will again show you one simple case. I take 2 bodies. I take another body. Now this is body 1, frame, body 2. Frame is everywhere called named body 1. And this is body 3. So I have got 3 bodies now. So this is I12. This is I13. I want to find I23. So you see, according to the theorem, it has to lie on this line. Now suppose this point is here. So that is possible. Whatever, suppose this angular velocity is like this, omega 2. And this angular velocity is like this, omega 3. Any point on this line, it will have a vertical velocity when it is on body 3. You assume this point is on body 3. What is its velocity? perpendicular to this line. And what is the, and suppose I call it I23. So this becomes omega 3 into distance I23, I13. So since it is going counterclockwise, this will be going upwards. Now you look, when this point is on body 2, what is its velocity? Omega 2 into I12, I23. So omega 2 into this distance. So since this body 2 is rotating about this fixed point, so velocity of this point has to be omega 2 cross I12, I23. Now you see this point also has a upward velocity perpendicular to this line. So these two velocities have to be equal. So you can find the location of this point I23 using this equation. Okay. Lavish, is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now suppose these two bodies were having, now this motion was counterclockwise, body 2, body 3 was having a clockwise motion. Suppose they both had counterclockwise motion. So you had a body which was having a counterclockwise motion. You had another body having counterclockwise motion. So now where will be this instantaneous center? Can it be between them? If some point is there between them, if this point lies on body 3, it will go downwards. And if it lies on body 2, it will go upwards. So this point cannot lie between the two bodies. So it has to lie on this line. How will it lie on this line? Suppose it is here. Now this, if it is here on body 2, it will go downwards. If it is on body 3, it will again go downwards. So it is possible that this point lies here. Or this point may even lie here. If it is lying here, as it rotates, if it is on body 3, it is going perpendicular to this line. If it is on body 2, again it is going perpendicular to this line, vertically upwards. But it will all depend when it is on body 2, what is its velocity? I12, I13. Omega 2, I12 will be equal to omega 3 So you will come to know where is your omega I23 solving this equation. Suppose your omega 2 is large, omega 2 is greater than omega 3. Then your point will lie here. If your omega 3 is larger, your point will lie here. You get me? So that will be all decided by this equation. Whatever is larger, if omega 2 is larger, only then this product can be equal to this when the point is closer to I1. Lavish, do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Now suppose I take one more case. I assume the line point lies on this line. Suppose it lied here. Then what will happen? When this point is on body 2, and so its velocity will be like this. When it is on body 3, its velocity will be like this. Depending on the sense of rotation, or this. In this case, like this or this. You see, these two velocities can never match. Their directions are different. So, instantaneous center between body 2 and 3 has to lie on the line joining these two instantaneous centers. So, all three instantaneous centers have to be on the same line. Is it all right? Lavish.
Okay, sir.
So that is just the proof of this state theorem. So we say we can talk of a virtually extended body. Body 2, this instantaneous center between the two bodies need not lie on any body. It is lying on some virtually extension of these bodies. So this is a powerful concept. It helps you many times in understanding physics, and also you can solve problems using this. Now you see, I have already found these instantaneous centers. I know them. Now I know this velocity I23. What is the velocity of this point, Lavish? Suppose I am given omega 2, then omega 2 into this distance is velocity of this point. Okay,
Yes, sir.
and this point also lies on body 3. So this point is also the velocity of I23. Now you see, body 3 is rotating about this fixed point, fixed axis of rotation. So what is the velocity of this point? This point is going like this. So you see, body 3 has to be rotating like this,
Yes, sir.
clockwise. Only then, when this point A is on this body 3, it is going to have a motion velocity in this direction. And also you can find the velocity of body, angular velocity of body 3. It has to be omega 3, I13, I23. And you already know the velocity of point A. So using this equation, you can find angular velocity of link 3 of this body 3. So you did not do anything great. You just knew the velocity of point A, and this point A you say lies on body 3 also. And fixed axis of rotation of body 3 is this. So you can say velocity of point A, direction is this. So this body has to rotate clockwise. I told you this rotation is a fixed vector. Take any point of the body, it will have this body will have the same sense of rotation, same angular velocity at that point as on any other reference point. So this was my reference point for understanding the motion of this body 3. And I said that body 3 will have same angular velocity, whatever be the reference point. So body 3 angular velocity gets decided. That this is omega 3 clockwise. Value of omega 3 is given by this equation. Similarly, now this point 34, we can find the velocity of I34 because I know angular velocity of body 3, omega 3 cross I13, I34. So this vector, so this gives me the velocity of point I34. What will be the direction of I34? Body 3 goes clockwise, so it will go like this, perpendicular to this line. Now you see this point also lies on body 4. And this is the axis of rotation of fixed axis of rotation of body 4. So you immediately come to know angular velocity of body 4. Omega 4 into I14, I34 is equal to velocity of I34. Now you see this velocity has to be counterclockwise because otherwise this body sorry clockwise. Otherwise this point when it lies on body 4 will not go in this direction. And this equation gives you the magnitude of this angular velocity. Is it all right, Lavish?
Yes, sir.
Is it difficult?
सर लिटिल बिट लाइक कहाँ से क्या हो रहा है सर, मतलब ये थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजिंग सा था, बट अब थोड़ा क्लियर है.
Okay, so you really listen to the video and you will get to know. Somehow things got jumbled up on the when I was writing. But most of it I have, I think, repeated enough number of times today itself. So that's all about instantaneous center I will talk. You know rolling cylinder. So you say it is a pure rolling. If it is pure rolling, then this point has zero instantaneous velocity. So if this body is called body 2 and this is your frame, So this point I can call I1, and this body is rotating clockwise like this. So what is the velocity of this center? The velocity of this point is, so you see velocity of I12 plus omega 2 cross
So R.
R, or I12 G you can call. So this is 0. So you directly get absolute velocity of point G. And this velocity has to be horizontal as this line is vertical. So choosing zero instantaneous velocity helps. If you assume body is rotating about this axis, then you immediately get absolute velocity. What is the absolute velocity of this point A? It will be again horizontal and twice of this velocity of G. If you want absolute velocity of this point C, you have to just join these 2 points. It has to be perpendicular to this. What is velocity of C? Omega 2 cross I12 C. So you get the velocity as magnitude as well as velocity. And you don't have to do any vector addition. Directly you get the answer. Suppose I choose my axis of rotation as point G. Now if I say I want velocity of point A, so what I have to say, velocity of G plus velocity of A with respect to G. So what is velocity of A with respect to G? Omega 2 cross. Now observer is at G. So you have to choose GA. What the position vector of point A with respect to this observer. So now you will be adding 2 vectors. One is this vector, velocity of point G, and velocity of point A. Since they are both parallel, you can just directly add it up. And you will get twice the velocity of G. Now suppose you want velocity of point C. The velocity of point C is velocity of G plus velocity of C with respect to G. Now velocity of G is horizontal. What is velocity of C with respect to G? It will be vertically downwards. Observer will say that C is going downwards. So how will you find absolute velocity? Then you have to add this velocity. These 2 velocities you add, and this diagonal of the rectangle becomes your absolute velocity of point C. So you required a vector addition to get absolute velocity of point C. When you chose this fixed axis, you didn't have to do that much effort. Is it all right, Lavish?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, anybody? You can ask your questions. So you get to know what is instantaneous center between 2 bodies. You always heard earlier of fixed axis of rotation, fixed instantaneous center. Now I have given you a more general definition. It is instant. It is a point between 2 bodies where the 2 bodies have the same absolute velocity. And I also talked about a virtual extension of the body, and also kind of giving the same rigid body motion to the entire space. You can treat the entire space as an extension of that rigid body, and you give it that motion. So it is called rigid body map. You are giving the mapping of your rigid body motion. Okay. If anybody has any question, you can ask. Now we should do some example problems. So I have a incline. So there is a box on it. This is a centroid. So box has a mass m. This height is h. This dimension is b. And it is coming down the slide with velocity v. Angle. This angle is theta. Coefficient of kinetic friction is mu k between the box and the incline. So the uniform box of mass m slides down the rough incline. Determine the location d of the effective normal force. So there is a normal force between the block and this surface, that is n, and this distance is d. Determine the location d of the effective normal force. The effective normal force is located at the centroid of the non-uniform distribution, which the incline exerts on the bottom surface of the block. Now this incline is coming down. Sorry, this block is coming down. How will you do this problem? You see, I had also done this kind of this example that so it's a uniform block. Its centroid is this. Now, what is the normal force? Normal force, is you can say, is collinear, equal and opposite to this weight. Only then this body is in equilibrium. Now, suppose you start applying a force F here, and body is in a state of impending slip. So there is some frictional force here. Now, where is this normal force? What is the location of this normal force? Effective normal force. This example I had done earlier. Here you see there will be a uniform pressure distribution on this surface. So centroid of the this distribution will be at the centroid of this surface. It will be going somewhere like this. Now when there is an external force F, now this normal force you will see that there will be a resultant of these two forces, this frictional force and this normal force, and they will be going through this point of intersection of this force F and gravitational force. So that these three forces are concurrent. Reaction from the support and external forces F and N. All these three forces have to be concurrent. Otherwise, the body will not be in equilibrium. So what is happening is the pressure distribution at the bottom surface of the block is non-uniform. That is why effective normal force location gets shifted. So if your normal force location distribution is like this, it is varying. So you will have your effective normal force location will shift. It will no longer be at the middle point. It will lie at the centroid of this force diagram. So it will no longer be at the passing through the centroid of the block. Similar thing is happening here. Now the whole thing is how you will go about it. Any ideas, Ramesh? So you are a block. So this is your centroid. Can you write some equation of motion? So this block is translating. So if you see the forces in this direction, parallel to the incline, what are the forces? One is mg sin theta, bring it downwards.
And friction force.
There is a frictional force of motion. Frictional force you say is minus F, and that will be equal to mass into acceleration of the block, downward acceleration. So this block is accelerating downwards. The uniform box of mass m slides down the rough incline. So nowhere in the question it is said that it is sliding with a constant velocity. Okay. So it is accelerating downwards. Accelerating, decelerating, whatever. So you get acceleration as g sine theta minus f by, now what is f? Mu into n, but we don't know what is the normal force. Okay. Now we have to calculate the normal force. Now you see one thing is there. There is no acceleration in the direction normal to the incline. Block is sliding down the incline. So there is no motion in the direction normal to the incline. It only has a tangential acceleration. There is no acceleration in the normal direction. So what are the forces in the normal direction?
सर नॉर्मल होगा एंड वो होगा एम जी
Mg
cos
cos theta.
N minus mg cos theta. All of you know that is equal to 0. There is no
yes
other force, so implies n is equal to mg cos theta. Okay. Now what further we can do? So we know this acceleration.
Sir, we can balance the movements now by the normal force and the mg sin theta component to find the
Okay, let
distance
us
d.
see what we can do. G sin theta minus mu by mu mg cos theta by m. So what do I get? G sin theta minus mu g cos theta. Okay. Now we can talk of the movements. Now one thing is very clear. This is an accelerating body. Okay.
yes sir
So you have to use your equation of rotational motion carefully. It's not a case of statics. It's a case of dynamics. Let us see. Now if we take our movement about point G, then you know your equation of dynamics is mg is equal to ig alpha. You know alpha is 0. So mg has to be 0. Now what are the forces involved? What are the external forces? on this block. One is the frictional force.
mg sin theta.
One is the frictional force. One is the gravitational force. And one is the normal force. Is there any other force? So if you take the movement about your G. Suppose I am taking movement about G. So what is the friction movement due to frictional force? F into h by 2. You see distance from point G to this incline is h by 2. So that becomes the perpendicular distance to this line of action of frictional force. And you see this movement is counterclockwise about point G. The counterclockwise movement I am taking as positive. So F into h by 2. And the normal force is there. Its movement about point G is clockwise. And the distance of point this line of action of normal force from point G is D. So minus n into D is equal to 0. Any problem? So what do you get D? D is equal to Fh by 2n. What is the frictional force? You calculated. Let's write it here. D is equal to frictional force was mu mg cos theta h by 2. Something is wrong, is it? What is my normal force? Mg cos theta. So what is my D? D is equal to mu h by 2. Any problem?
Sir, like we are balancing the movements about the point G, can we balance them about the point of contact also, like the bottom left corner, so that to avoid the toppling condition?
Let us see.
सर मेरा एक डाउट सर, ये नॉर्मल जो फोर्स है सर, ये हमेशा बॉडी के परपेंडिकुलर लगती है सर। आपने डी डिस्टेंस अवे किया है उससे सेंट्रॉइड से।
Look, normal force means it has to be normal to the surface. So there is some reaction force from the support as applied to this body. So one force part you have taken tangential to the surface. That you call frictional force.
यस सर।
Another force you have taken normal to the surface.
यस सर। सर जो
Otherwise, that will become, if you had some component along the friction surface, so that will add to the frictional force. Any force you can write represent in two orthogonal directions. Suppose this is my support reaction. So it has two components, one normal to the surface, one tangential to the surface. Yes, what is the question?
सर मेरा डाउट ये था सर, जो नॉर्मल फोर्स है वो सर सेंटर से होके पास होती है, लाइक डी डिस्टेंस आपने अवे किया है बट वो सेंटर से पास होती है, सेंट्रोइड
It need not be passing through the centroid. You see, there can be a non-uniform pressure distribution here. The pressure distribution is non-uniform. If your pressure distribution is like this, then you have to find centroid of this pressure distribution. Now its distribution will be more towards this side because you are having higher pressure here. How do you find the equivalent force? Movement of this pressure distribution about this axis will be 0. Okay.
ओके सर।
Now suppose we want to find it, take it at some other point. So this was my point G. Now, if you want to do it about here, should I get the same answer? Let us first work it out. So you see, there is a frictional force, there is a normal force, and there is a gravitational force. Now what happens? Let's call this point A. So if we are writing equation of rotational motion, so we'll say movement of all the forces about point A is equal to IA alpha. Now you see, whatever you take your reference point, alpha is 0 here. So that is one advantage we are having. So movement about point A has to be 0. Now what is the movement of forces about point A? Frictional force will not contribute. This distance was B, this was D. Now, but this N and G will contribute. So if distance is, if we are told that this distance is this was H, this is D. What will be this distance? N into B by 2 minus D. This is D, so this becomes B by 2 minus D. This is causing a counterclockwise twist about point A. So this is positive. Then you have got this G. So this is a vertically downward force. So what is the movement about point A? Looks a little complicated. So what we can do is we define a
भाई slow
coordinate
कर.
system. Let's define our coordinate system.
Sir, for the gravitational force, we can divide it into the two components, cos theta and sin theta, and then calculate the moments about A.
यस सर,
Okay,
तब mg b/2 cos थीटा हो जाएगा.
that's a good way. So we can do like this: mg sin theta, mg cos theta. So mg sin theta will contribute a counterclockwise movement about point A,
यस सर.
Yes, sir.
and the distance is h by 2. Mg cos theta will give a clockwise movement about point A, and the value is b by 2. Okay. Any other force? Normal
Yes,
force
sir.
is done. Gravitational force is done. Frictional force is giving you a 0. So this should be 0. Okay, normal force is already we have calculated mg cos theta. D by 2 minus D. So mg cos theta b by 2. This is gone with this. So we get mg cos theta into D is equal to mg sin theta h by 2. Somewhere our mu is gone. And our mu. So you see, you're not getting the right answer. Is it right? Your
एंगल
frictional
ऑफ
force is not
कॉन्टैक्ट
contributing.
यही होता है ना सर?
Yeah.
Sir, when we define the angle of contact, it is defined as the tan of angle theta, and theta is between the normal reaction and the resultant between the normal and the frictional force.
You
So
say tan theta is
if
mu.
we calculate d, that will be tan theta. Yes, sir.
I don't think anywhere we are told that mu is equal to tan theta here. Okay, we are not told anywhere. That is generally the situation when you have a impending slip. Then you say mu is equal to tan theta. Here there is nothing like impending slip. Here something is sliding down and you are having ki- kinetic friction. Okay. So here mu is your
Okay,
coefficient of
sir.
kinetic friction. So you see nowhere in this equation mu is there. So you cannot be getting the same answer. So did we have to do something different? That is my question. Earlier we talked about IG. We wrote the equation MA is equal to. Now let us see, we had written one more equation. I had told you, suppose my reference point is now A. So this body is having, this reference point is suppose located on the body and it is sliding down. It is having an acceleration given by this acceleration value. We already calculated acceleration of the block g sin theta minus mu g cos theta. So this block is accelerating downwards. So we can say there is a inertial force acting on the block and the force is minus heavy. It is acting in the opposite direction. Now we also have to treat this inertial force as an additional force. Only then we can write our equation of rotational motion. Now I want to add movement because of this force also to my equation of rotational motion. Suppose what I do that. So what will be this movement? It is going in this direction. So it will be clockwise movement. So minus value. Whatever is this force into h by 2. What is this force? Frictional force. Sorry, this force is, this inertial force is m is there g sin theta minus mu g cos theta. So this is the additional force we have applied in the opposite direction of the acceleration multiplied with a sin m, and this is causing a clockwise twist. So I have found the moment directly. So I reject this equation. So I am adding a minus term, minus mg sin theta h by 2 plus mu mg cos theta h by 2. So I have added it. Any problem? Let us see what happens. Now add this mg sin theta h by 2 is knocked out by this. So what we are left with? Minus mg cos theta into d from here, or rather I can call it plus, is equal to mu mg cos theta h by 2. Now you see mg cos theta is gone. So d is equal to mu h by 2. You see you are getting back the same answer.
Yes, sir.
Can you see this? So you see, we have to be careful when we are using our equation of rotational motion. The equation that applies to statics will not apply to dynamics. And you have to think hard why this has happened. Last time I had given you solved the problem of a cylinder rolling down an incline. I had taken four different reference points. One was a fixed reference point, another was centroid, third was bottom of the cylinder fixed to the incline, another was fixed to the cylinder, and another one was on the incline but moving with the translating downwards with the incline as the cylinder was rolling down. So there were four different cases. So at each place, I use this motion equation of rotational motion, and you found different ways of doing it. Different terms are coming up. We had to consider an inertial force when we use that equation. Can we do this problem in any other way? In this case, maybe tricky to do that. I don't know. So this is accelerating downwards. We took this point. So this point was some point on this body. Suppose I take this point here, fixed point, then what will happen? Now it is a fixed point, and this body is sliding down. So what is the equation of rotational motion? So there is a frictional force on it, there is a normal force on it, there is a gravitational force on it. So this is some point B. So one thing is clear, MB is equal to movement of the forces about point B is equal to instead of writing IB alpha, what I should do? Let's call it dLV by dt. Angular momentum of the body about point B. Movement of the forces about point B. So these are external forces. I am not talking about any inertial force because this is a fixed point. B is a fixed point. Now, first let's deal with this situation. The frictional force will not contribute any movement because it is passing through this point B. Normal force, this is distance D. Suppose I have taken this point as at distance S. So it is causing N is causing a counterclockwise twist. N into This distance is d, so s plus b by 2 minus d. Then we do the same thing plus mg sine theta into h by 2 minus mg cos theta into b by 2 plus s. So this is straightforward. This is mb. Now we have to find angular momentum of the body about point P. Now it is a sliding block. There is no rotational motion. All the particles of the block are having the same velocity. So you see they are having the same velocity. So let's decide a coordinate system. X, Y. So you can say this block centroid is having this center as a velocity. Velocity of the centroid is equal to minus v I. What is this angular momentum? R cross mv. What is this distance r? S plus this distance p s plus b by 2 I plus h by 2j. So this is my r. Centroid is having velocity downwards, so I call it vi. Momentum becomes mvi. Angular momentum will be cross product of position vector of the centroid. I have taken the velocity at the centroid. Position vector of the centroid becomes s plus b by 2 I plus h by 2j. Any problem? If I make a mistake, please let me know. I take a cross product. So s plus b by 2 I. So I simply get j cross I is minus k minus m h by 2 velocity is it all right? H by 2 into mv, it's a plus sign. So this is my angular momentum of body about point B. If I take time derivative of this angular momentum, mh by 2 dv by dt. So this acceleration of the block is coming into picture now. What was the acceleration of the block? G sin theta minus mu g cos theta. G sin theta minus mu g cos theta. So this was I took the time derivative. You must tell me in case something goes. I have made some mistake. Let us see what happens. TLB by 2. R cross. It has to be perpendicular. So your angular momentum has to be perpendicular to the plane. It has to be in direction k because all your vectors are in xy plane. Okay. So what is its time derivative? Your vectors are in xy plane. Angular momentum. M, H, these are all constants. Only term that is varying is V. V here is magnitude. Okay. V here is magnitude. So I should not put a vector to it. This is a magnitude. So, all right, I have to use the magnitude. And magnitude was something coming downwards. Now it's time derivative of this magnitude. This is the time derivative of the magnitude. So this we are assuming it is increasing in this, whatever will be the value. It was coming downwards. So this acceleration is also downward acceleration. So I think we don't have to play with it further. Now this has to be equal to your movement, which we calculated. What was my movement? Mg cos theta s plus b by 2 minus d plus mg sin theta h by 2 minus mg cos theta b by 2 plus s. This was my movement of the forces. And this I had taken counterclockwise positive, so it was k. Now we have to see what are cancelling out. So mg cos theta into s goes away with this. Mg cos theta into b by 2 goes away. So what I am left with, mg cos theta into d with a minus sign plus mg sin theta h by 2. Now I am here. You see mg, this term is mg h sin theta by 2. So this will go away with this minus mu m. So we are I think getting very good equation. Mu mg h cos theta by 2 mu mg h cos theta by 2 is equal to mg cos theta d. Hello. Yes. Yes. कहाँ से बात कर रहे हो? Yeah, I'm busy right now. We'll talk later. Okay. Thank you. So you see, you have got the same answer. Lavish, is it all right?
Yes, sir.
So you see, it is important to know what are the right equations. We did it in several ways. You have to have confidence in your equations. It was looking nearly impossible that this will work out this way. But you use the concept of angular momentum. Now you see, it was a translating object. Still, it had an angular momentum about some point. You can't say it is not rotating, so angular momentum you cannot talk of. You see, when I talked of a particle motion, I talked of a particle going like this. I said I can find its angular momentum about this point because angular momentum is just r cross mv. So I could talk about it. Similarly, I could talk of the forces. Whatever is the torque of this force, movement of this force, again r cross f. So you can always talk of angular momentum. You have to think just with your basic stuff. Then you will not make a mistake. All right. So let's do some more problems. So you can listen to this lecture at peace in your home. Then you will see, you can think of different ways of doing it. One more problem I like to do.
So, many of students have exam AICTE. Uh, so can you do over the class because it is still started.
Okay, no problem. So class is over.
Thank you, sir.